to the Bourbon Husband Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Bradley Jr., and this is the 8th Pour. And for the very first time, we are having a roundtable discussion. So I got my boys here, Kevin Shrewsbury and Chris Bevins. Welcome to the show, boys.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, bro.
Absolutely. So today we have a very unique podcast. We're going to be doing a discussion, as you could see right here, on a certain book. It's called Pappyland, written by none other than Wright Thompson. We're going to be having a really smooth pour, but stay tuned. We may have a surprise for you in the end. First and foremost, I want to thank all my subscribers, followers, and supporters out there. Thank you for continuing to get the brand and show out there. Also, I want to thank my cousin Melvin for lending us some space here this evening at the club room here in Princeton, West Virginia. So Melvin, thank you for being so generous during this holiday season. Boys, we're 3 days away from Christmas. Here we go. So I thought, what better time to do the show and this particular episode than right here. And here we go. So first and foremost, we're going to go ahead and have a pour. Since Kevin, you brought the bottle, I'll let you do the first honors and open that up, and we'll move it around the table.
And I will let you.
All right.
Go first. It's your
All right.
show. All right.
There you go, Chris.
My man.
All right. Weller Special Reserves. This is some really, really good juice, people. So ignore that table. It's a little wobbly. That's okay. But, guys, so let me thank our good friend at Bill Co-Automall, Tony Colombo, for first off lending me the book. Obviously, he knows I'm a bourbon guy. One day he came up to me, he said, "Hey, have you read this book?" A family member gave it to me, let me read it. So I read the book, and I'll be honest, I sent one passage to these guys in a group message that we have, and immediately after reading that one passage, I was hooked. We'll get into the book a little bit more, but then after I read it, Chris, you read it.
Yep.
Give me your thoughts a little bit on what you think of the book.
Well, the passage you had sent us in our chat about reading it and just pretty much summing up what bourbon means to us wasn't but 2 pages or so, I think. That had me interested just from that.
Of course.
So once you finished, I wanted to read it myself, and I'm not a big reader anyway. I mean, I don't usually sit down with books and read stuff just for the fun of reading. But when I started reading this, I just couldn't put it down. I finished it in about maybe 2 days, I think.
Right.
Which for me, to read a book that size in 2 days is it's pretty good. It's
impressive,
for me.
right?
But
Impressive.
it's that good. Like it's got a lot of good stuff in there about bourbon family, all kinds of different things, and I literally couldn't put it down. I was up till 1 o'clock in the morning both nights reading it because I couldn't wait to finish it or see what was about to happen next in the story. So.
Of course, and then Kevin, you read it next.
Yeah, I got it after that, and I'm traditionally a little bit of a slower read, and I had a lot going on when I got the book, so it took me a little while to actually sit down and be able to get into it. Now I had one evening I read the first few chapters, and I was pretty hooked on it. I wanted to get back to it, but then it took me a few days to be able to pick it back up, and picked it up on a Sunday morning, and I read through the whole rest of the book, probably everything but the first 5 or 6 chapters on that Sunday. And a really, really good book. I mean, the bourbon part of it was interesting. There was a lot of history and things there that I didn't know about. But when you really got into the family part is what really grabbed me with the book. The father and son moments, the regret of things happening, the parallel stories between the writer and Van Winkle. It was just really, really, really good read. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So before we get into the book, let's go ahead. As you could see, we got Weller Special Reserve as our 8th pour. But again, stay tuned. There's a surprise at the end. So smooth, boys. I mean,
Cheers.
This is good juice right here.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, fellas.
Very good. Absolutely.
Smooth.
That's good stuff.
That's pretty good. It's a little chill too. You think this is on the rocks? Kevin had it in his car
It's been
today,
in my car all day.
and it's actually got a good coolness.
It
to
actually
You can
does.
tell it's really good.
Cool, but not watered down.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you're going to do it, do some ice stones or something like that. That's what I always say.
I've got some whiskey stones I use a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a bunch of stories in this book, a bunch of different things that happen in the history of bourbon. It's mainly centered around Julian Van Winkle, though. Wright Thompson, of course, was doing a story. It ties into the Kentucky Derby. And let me stop right there. I meant to say at the beginning of the show, if you don't want to be spoiled, stop, pause, go read the book, and then come back and watch the episode at a later date.
Once you start reading it, you'll get through it pretty quick.
You'll go quickly. I do believe that this is the fastest I've ever read a book in my life. That like a good, a normal sized novel. I read it like that.
I don't believe I know.
Absolutely right. You're not a big reader. Though,
I'm not a big reader.
I am,
I'm more of a movie guy. But like I said, when you sent me that, it had enough in that one little section that just hooked me to be like, I want to read about that.
Of course, absolutely. And the passage I sent, again, spoiler alert, you are going to get spoiled. So if you don't want to do that, pause, read the book, come back and watch the episode at a later date. But I sent a passage and it tied into the writer Wright Thompson and his father. They were Ole Miss fans. And there was a bottle of Old Fitzgerald, and his father hadn't drank on that since Ole Miss, I believe, won the Cotton Bowl. It was a long time ago, sometime in the 60s, I believe. It is when that happened. And then they were in another bowl game in New Orleans.
Yeah.
And he had a bottle of Old Fitzgerald that tied it in. But what was really cool was he went down after the game. Ole Miss had won the football game. He was passing a restaurant/bar, and his uncle, his dad's brother, was in. He seen him in the window. Yep. Such a small world, dude, and just the family thought of that story right there. You know, his dad hadn't touched that bottle of Old Fitzgerald since the 60s, and then here he is drinking on it, and it's Ole Miss football, and it all just ties into memories and moments and family.
Talking about how he wasn't surprised that his family was there, his uncle was there.
Right.
He didn't know they were going to be there, but he wasn't surprised by it. The surprising part was that he just walked by and saw him waving at him, you know, and they're right there, and he said it was like his father was there with him. With all of them, because they were all there together.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, that is really, really smooth. Anytime I have Weller, it's spot on. It's so good.
Quintessential.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's good juice. So this is going to tie right in. If you don't know, Pappyland, of course, is about the Van Winkle family. Wright Thompson actually joined Julian Van Winkle on a lot of trips and stuff while he was writing this book. Whether it be the Kentucky Derby, to the old distillery, to the new distillery, whatever it was, Wright Thompson was with Julian Van Winkle while writing this book. But Weller is the same juice as Pappy Van Winkle, if you didn't know that.
They start out the same.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's just, whatever the Van Winkles put their name on and during the tastings. And what was really unique, and this is toward the end of the book, but was when Julian was tasting the first ever, 15 year?
It was a 15
year Van Winkle
that Buffalo Trace had
put out. The Buffalo Trace had put out. We got to experience in this book when Julian Van Winkle tasted that, and it was the first ever 15 year Pappy Van Winkle
that he was trying to replicate
from Buffalo Trace.
Yeah, him replicate that taste,
old
that
taste,
choosing which ones were the right ones to go into it. Yeah.
And it's wild because he always had tried to replicate or gain that taste back of what used to be his family's bourbon, and
that he remembered.
Yeah.
And Chris, I'll let you go into this one, and then Kevin, you bounce off, and we'll continue to do this throughout the episode. But a lot of people think, the Van Winkles, right? Pappy Van Winkle's this huge family in bourbon, and they are. But it ain't just smooth sailing. They went through some stuff there, and
they're Hall of Fame names for sure.
Absolutely
in the bourbon world. Go ahead.
But no, the Van Winkles, more specifically, Julian's father, had to sell the distillery.
Yeah.
And then real struggles began.
In the
and they
70s.
never got the taste again.
Right.
Right. And
He could remember it.
But all the original barrels had been sold off.
right.
And they
or so
couldn't-
he thought.
So he thought.
So he thought.
So we thought.
Yeah. They had, pretty much, it was pretty well gone. And so he spent a good part of his life just trying to chase that taste again and,
Right.
and find that taste that he remembered from when he was younger.
Right.
And he's got an amazing palate for tasting this stuff and finding it. You know, it was interesting reading how he went chasing that and what he went through trying to just keep his family in the bourbon.
Went through
Community.
some struggles.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
for sure.
And to keep the name out there.
Absolutely. He went through some struggles. When the distillery sold, which distillery did he end up going and working for? Was trying to remember the name of it, but it was never a smooth sailing. They had floods and rats,
it
and
was one thing after another.
Raccoons living in the distillery.
Right. It was crazy. And then he gets a call out of nowhere from the old distillery, which was purchased, I believe, by who was it? Starts with
It's
No.
Blade and Bud.
Blade and Bud.
Blade and Bud.
That's who has it now.
and they had said, "Hey, we got some old barrels here that we're not going to use." Lo and behold, it was the Pappy Van Winkle barrels that
From the Stitzel Weller.
old Stiltzer Weller distillery. So,
Yep.
and I could go on and on and on about very specific details about this book. I want you guys to read it. I'm not going to sit here and read the entire story for you guys. There's so many stories in here. The Kentucky Derby, the tie into that, and everybody knows Wilford Reserve and the Kentucky Derby. But the rarity of Pappy Van Winkle, right? We hear it. We hear the news and the noise and everything like that of how hard Van Winkle Pappy is.
How scarce it is.
It's very scarce. So scarce that Julian Van Winkle himself, the grandson of Pappy, can't even get it. What's he carry on him?
He carries Weller.
Weller, because that's the only good bourbon he can find.
Now the book doesn't specify
Which Weller?
which Weller.
I don't know.
Because there's a lineup of that as well. But obviously the Special Reserve is easier for
Yeah.
most folks to find.
Absolutely.
It's the common man's Weller that's a little bit more obtainable.
Absolutely.
But then, of course, they've got the Antique 107, the single barrel, the full proof. They've got
CYB.
the Create Your Perfect Bourbon, all of those, and the 12-year as well, which is what a lot of people most compare to Pappy.
Yeah,
that
because you
12
got
year.
that Pappy 12 and that.
And you got Lot B12, which essentially, like we said, same weeded mash bill. So when those two, both being 12 years old, start out, they're going to be the exact same mash bill, put in the exact same type barrels.
Yep.
In some of the same warehouses.
Same
but it
juice,
goes
man.
back to what Julian Van Winkle decides to taste to put his family's name on is the differentiator there. That's the only different. So he carries Weller because he says that he can't even get Pappy himself because there's not enough to go around.
Yeah. He says that he'd like for everybody to be able to get a hold of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Even he can't get a hold of
Yeah,
it.
even
Right.
he,
As much
it's
as
not like he has a
Yeah.
big stockpile of Pappy Van Winkle.
It's
That-
wild.
He
I mean,
thinks
he is
People thinks he does.
Pappy
but he
Van
He's the
doesn't.
Winkle.
name on the bottle. He's the legacy
Yep.
of his grandfather. So it's wild.
It
wild
is.
to be able to piece all that together.
It's so crazy, and I've known the history behind Pappy Van Winkle. I've known the history, for the most part, behind the old Stiltzer Weller distillery.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of tie-ins and like behind the scenes and dirty things too that happened.
in this book, and you're reading it, and you're like, "Holy crap!
Yeah. So
that happened."
and let's talk about it, right? The keys to what was it, 4 or 5 keys that he believed in making great bourbon.
I think it was 5.
5 keys, and who would have known that Blade and Bow ripped that off and used it on their bottles? And
Yeah, as the collectible keys that you can get with the Blade and Bow bottles.
I would have never known that.
With the different letters
He
on
said
them.
that
I've
was
seen
his-
the bottle. I would have never known that.
Yeah, I wouldn't
where
have
that's
known
come
what that
from.
was.
Said that was his grandfather's ideas, you know, and they used it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can borrow, you can get ideas from other people and other distilleries, but the way they handled that, I was like, I don't know if I'll ever drink a bottle of that.
It just seems like
it was dirty.
Seems like a knife in the back.
It was interesting, not only them, but it was interesting how he talked about so many different brands
Of course.
build themselves off of a fictional history of their bourbon.
Of theirs, yeah.
Like you know, this person who's really a fictional person or an idea, you know, came up with this, and then it's really just a corporation that came up with everything. And there's some definite brands that don't do that.
Right.
But that's what he was talking about. Is, you know, his is real,
Right.
but a lot of brands aren't. You know, it's
No,
just all
exactly.
marketing,
It's,
you know? And that's where that comes from. Is those 5 keys that basically was ripped off from his grandfather is all basically marketing and creating a fictional history.
So they
line.
can tie it into
Yeah.
the old Stitzelweller
Yeah,
distillery
exactly.
and Pappy Van Winkle.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's been ripped off, and all that stuff, and also all the fake bourbon out there, right? I mean, it talks about that, and then it talks about the Pappy Van Winkle heist that happened. We've read that, and we watched an episode, a show on that before, a documentary, if you remember, the bourbon heist. But what's wild is everybody knows that Pappy's so scarce and everything. But let me ask you, Chris, and we've heard Julian Van Winkle say it in the book, and we've seen interviews. Have you ever told anybody about Pappy Van Winkle?
Yeah.
Have you ever talked about it to somebody?
Yeah.
Have you ever talked about it to
I have
somebody?
mentioned it, yeah.
You know what we did? We created our own competition.
Yeah.
When it comes to Pappy Van
Yeah,
Winkle.
Yeah.
everybody would just shut up about it. Maybe
I
we'll be
know,
out there
it was
one
so
of these
scarce.
days.
Let's just shut up about it, and maybe we can get our hands on it. It's just wild, all the stories and everything that went behind it. The struggles of Julian Van Winkle, to me, was one of the more captivating insights in this book. I would have never known he went through all the things he did to get the Van Winkle name back, and that taste and that Pappy history.
Behind
And
it all.
it was almost pure luck that it happened. It just kind of fell into his lap.
Like
because
it was
they called him and
destiny.
said, "Hey, do you want some of this old stuff?" And then find out that old stuff was what he was really looking for.
Yeah, the entire time. He was trying to capture that taste, never could get it. And here we are. I mean, Reed says it in the book. He sits down and he's tasting all these. It took him, I believe, 2 days to make decisions on whether or not the 15-year was going to be released. And it's wild that we know the story and the moment he sat down and tasted that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I forget which Rick House it came out of.
It specifically said it in the book, but
I forgot which one, but it goes to all the Rick Houses, all the barrels, and it narrows down to a certain Rick House. I believe it might have been H. Rick House H. I'm almost positive.
And it was even going into the history of the barrels and when they were moved and where they were moved to.
It's
and
amazing.
it was pretty neat how they were able to line up. Okay, so this barrel was here, went here. Okay, this is the magic combination. It has to be in this Rick House. Has to move to this area. Yeah.
What is also crazy to think about too is the amount of barrels that had dissolved.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's gone.
The ones
It's
they
just
found that was
gone.
just
While you're
gone,
trying to
just
find that
completely gone.
taste.
Yeah.
Whatever
It's,
happened to that?
Angel share.
Yeah, exactly. The angels share. It says it in the book. Absolutely. The angels got their share of that bourbon. So it's just this, again, I don't want to go into too many stories because I do want people to read it. But if you're into bourbon at all,
It's worth a read.
if you're into family at all,
Yes.
it's worth the read.
Which that brings me to a lot of what it wasn't just the Van Winkle family. You know, this
Wright
book, Wright Thompson designed this book to be about Julian Van Winkle, but
it turned out to be his story.
They had a talk together about how they were going to construct the book, and it ended up being a book that was also about Wright Thompson and his struggles with family,
Absolutely.
and his past family and his future family, and that really spoke to me quite a bit.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you're into family, if you're into history, I mean, it's all right there. It's in there.
All of it.
So this book, I give it a 5 out of 5. I'm a bourbon fan. I love my family. I love history. It hit everything I want to do.
Yeah.
And when I would sit down and read certain passages, I was just slowly sipping on some bourbon. And I remember I finished this book off with my special reserve that I had left. I felt like it was meant, I had to have Weller Special Reserve while I was reading this book. But
Right.
That's when I honestly, because I read it throughout a whole day on Sunday, other than a little bit that night. But I finished the book, put it down, went and opened up the Weller and poured it, because I felt like that was something I should do. Is I should drink the Weller right after I finished the book.
Absolutely. Chris, let me ask you this. What's one of your more favorite passages or stories in the book? Without giving too many details, but
Honestly, probably one of the things whenever it talked about how when he would go to these special events and gatherings and stuff, that not that he was trying to, I guess, seem better than everybody else, but Wright Thompson in the book says that anytime they went somewhere, whether it be a Christmas party or whatever it was, that Julian always brought his own bourbon. In a flask.
in a flask.
In a flask. He didn't, if it was somewhere that had an open bar, he wasn't drinking their stuff. He was drinking his own bourbon.
Yeah.
And when somebody asked what it was, he told them it was Weller because Pappy's so hard to get. That blew me away, because I was one of those that thought, surely Julian Van Winkle and that whole family have
Has
probably
nothing but
vaults
Pappy.
full of any Pappy they could ever want. And that's just not so.
right.
Yeah.
It's just, there's not a magical Pappy vault where somebody's got hordes and hordes of this stuff.
It's wild. Absolutely.
So-
Kevin, what was
there's-
one of your favorite stories?
There's so many, but probably my favorite anecdote was going to the bar, ordering a Pappy Van Winkle,
Oh yeah,
telling
This
them
one's
on
a
the
good one.
rocks with a twist, and the bartender saying,
And a
I
splash, too,
yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
it?
a splash, yeah.
A splash of
Saying,
water.
Yeah, a splash of water and a twist. And the bartender saying, I don't think that I can do that with a whiskey this wonderful, this nice. And him saying, well, that's how my grandfather did it, and that's how my father did it. By the way,
I'm Preston Van Winkle.
Yeah, I'm Preston Van Winkle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the bartender's like, oh, really? And it just kind of blew him away.
Exactly.
And it was just a funny anecdote. There's so many other things, but that's a story that just stands out to me as just something really funny out of the book.
Oh, it does, absolutely. Yeah, it was so. Preston Van Winkle is Julian's son there,
Yeah.
or son-in-law, or son.
Son.
And he goes to the bar and he's like, but that's how my family drinks,
Yeah.
it, which is wild. So, and I've said on the show before, however you want to drink your bourbon, it's bourbon. It's meant to be enjoyed however you want to enjoy
Yep.
it, and that's what bourbon's about. But my favorite story had to be the Ole Miss tie-in,
Yeah.
and the Cotton Bowl and the bowl game, and his family and his father passing, and it's just wild how that all tied in together. But him keeping Weller on hand because that's all he can get. Would have never thought that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then again,
But it's the closest thing he can get to what he really wants.
it's pretty
Just like the rest of
right.
us.
Yeah, exactly. And I was one of the things that I found. Sorry, another thing that I found interesting.
No, keep going. This
was the fact that the Pappy original Pappy Van Winkle was really designed as a wheated bourbon because he wanted to try something different and bring a grain
yes.
that was natural to Kentucky rather than the rye that a lot of bourbons were using at the time that wasn't natural to Kentucky. And as a wheated bourbon fan, because I really enjoy makers.
what got us
a lot of
into it.
different versions of makers, but I really enjoy that, and I found it really interesting that the history of that is really tied back to Van Winkle for the weeded bourbon.
Right. He did it first.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
first, the original
Exactly.
wheat up, you could see it right here, the original wheat up bourbon
Yes.
Right.
on the front of the label, and that it goes back to the old Stiltzer Weller distillery.
Yeah.
They created wheat up bourbon, and I believe it truly started with, I believe it was Old Fitzgerald. Old Fitz was the first one, and you know, just the history and everything behind this. You knew the history of Pappy Van Winkle. You knew the hype, you knew the talk, but you didn't know the struggle.
Right.
Right, exactly.
You didn't know the struggle and the things it took to get that original Pappy taste back. Because let's be honest, we know Pappy Van Winkle bourbon as what it is now. We don't know what it was then.
No.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
No, back in the day, and nobody thought it was that special back then. It probably sat on the shelf.
Right.
You
Well,
know,
that's-
until the boom happened and all the stuff with the heist and all this stuff. So
And that's something else that Julian talks about, is that the bourbon from a couple of decades ago is completely different from what it is now because of the modern manufacturing, the modern corporations basically taking over the bourbon business and turning it into a money business instead of a taste business.
Right.
He even talks about how, again, makers from the 80s is better than makers is now because it was a taste business and not a corporate money business.
Yeah, exactly. And I would love, and you know, one day, I believe it's possible, whether it be a bottle of the original Weller, whether it be an Old Fitz or something like that, I believe it would be awesome to get my hands on an old bottle
Oh, yeah.
there. So I would love that opportunity to get my hands on something from back in the day, for sure. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I would absolutely love it. So, but
They're
no,
out there if you can pay for it.
it's up there, man. I'm
That's
telling
the
you.
tricky part. Can you pay for it?
Man, and by the way, if y'all have never had Weller, you need to jump in on this. Special Reserve, you can find most of the time allocated or something like that.
With just a little bit of effort.
Yeah,
A
you gotta
little
pay
bit.
for
It
it.
takes some effort,
Yeah.
but it's not
It's
too
out.
much effort.
Right.
Once you get into foolproof 12-year Antique 107,
They're a little more rare.
it's you're getting on the spectrum of not being able to find it. You know, we had a buddy. I'm not going to name drop, but nearly won an allocated lineup and offered it to me for $1,000 if he won it. I said yes, absolutely, absolutely, if you can get it. So
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
let me ask you this,
You're
Kevin.
talking about the whole Weller Rainbow.
The whole Weller Rainbow,
all
all
of
of it.
it, all of it.
I would jump all over it.
That'd be a good. That's actually a steal. What is it? 6 of them.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a steal.
Yeah.
And it
It
sounds
is.
high if you're not into bourbon, but when you start looking at secondary prices on some of this stuff, it can get kind of insane. It makes
Yeah.
you wonder sometimes, is it worth it? Is it not? A lot of times it's just being able to say that you have it.
Right.
Not that it's worth it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
Kevin, let me ask you this. Obviously we talked about our favorite stories, but what does the book mean to you in your life and your admiration for bourbon and what's it mean to you?
You know, it really did kind of open up an appreciation for bourbon itself and the process that goes into making it and the history of it. It really did bring up more of an appreciation for me as far as what that is and what goes into it. The book itself, I told you on the way over here, the family aspect is what really spoke to me.
I agree.
Just there was stuff in there that I was reading and I was like, that's like me and my father or me and my sons,
Yeah, of course.
And that part of it really spoke to me quite a bit. And when you put it all together, yeah, it's magic.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. Chris.
man, I without going into too much
Right.
of it, I already had a pretty deep appreciation for everything that went into bourbon, and the history behind it is kind of what I feel like is most cool about it. So, basically, it's just like Kevin was saying, tying into family. I could relate things of what was going on in the book to my own life personally, and just some of the stuff like what we're doing right now. Of course, memories. I mean,
it is
30 years from now. I mean, I will be able to remember the first time we had a roundtable discussion about a book on the Bourbon Husband podcast.
Exactly.
Having Weller Special Reserve, and I mean that's what it's about: is creating memories, and just what all goes into it. It's not just something that you take for granted that you can, just have this kind of stuff all the time.
Yep, I agree.
So
completely, and same thing. Friends, family, memories, and we've all had that deep appreciation for bourbon. And for those of you who aren't into bourbon the way we are, when you do get there, because I'm trying to get you there, you will understand. If you read this book, it would mean everything to you. But I was reading, and I don't even know what part of the book I was reading, but I was sitting there and I was sipping on Special Reserve here, and I just paused in the middle of a passage after I read a paragraph. I just stopped. I nosed it a little bit.
Yeah.
Took a little sip, switched it around.
Yep.
And I looked, and my kids are playing on the floor. My wife's over there on the couch, and I don't know. It just hit home. Right?
Yeah.
And then, believe it or not, shortly after, y'all sent me a message in the group chat. We got the Bourbon Brothers group chat, and you both were sending pictures of what you were sipping on, and you could see your living rooms and stuff, and I was like, the timing of it was just unreal, because I didn't send y'all a picture or anything. I didn't tell you what I was doing.
Right.
And everything hit in that one moment. Everything hit. The friends, the family, the bourbon, the memories. All of it just hit. And
Yeah.
I want to apologize. It's been a few weeks since I had an actual episode out. We've been doing our advent calendar. We do Whiskey Wednesday Toast every Wednesday, but we've made some changes to the equipment and just getting scheduling in line. Christmas, work.
Yeah.
Y'all know how it goes. But after I read this book, I knew right then and there that the next episode was going to be on this.
Yeah.
Because you two were going to read it.
Exactly.
And I've been joking around a little bit that this episode took so long because it took me so long to get the book read.
No, between three people. And
He had the book for a long time.
Yeah, I did have
And
the book
we're like, Kevin, have you started the book yet? And he's like, no, haven't actually picked it up. And I was like, pick it up, and you won't put it down.
Well, I think I got it. I think I got it right before Thanksgiving.
You did, yes.
And for people that don't know, Thanksgiving for me is Thanksmas. My youngest son and his girlfriend come in, and we do Christmas and Thanksgiving all at once. And then I've had a few other things that's going on that kind of made this take a little bit longer to get into it. Right. But once I got into it, like I said earlier, once
you
I got
finished
into
it fairly quick.
Yeah, you did.
But I apologize for this episode.
No, Lord, no. I think we need to polish this off. Some Special Reserve, and I think we got one more.
Got a little sip.
Yep.
Yeah,
all right,
a little
let's
bit.
go, fellas. Merry Christmas and
Ho, 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 and all that.
Yeah.
man, that's really good juice. I would just love to know, though. I would love to know, even just a little bit, the difference in this and Pappy. Whether it be 10, 12, 15, 20, 23, or the 13 rye.
Any of it, huh?
I would love to know. I would love to taste Pappy right after having some Special Reserve.
That would be really interesting.
Get my hands on Pappy's hard, though.
It is. It is very hard to
Anything with the Van Winkle name.
I know anything that's got a Van Winkle label on it, I just can't get my hands on. Chris,
Oh, yeah.
look over there, buddy.
What do we have here? But some Van Winkle Special Reserve.
Hmm. 12-year-old
Lot B.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Have you ever held a bottle?
I have not held this bottle. No.
Oh my goodness. I wasn't going to name drop, but special thanks to a dear friend, very close friend to all three of us.
Yes.
Yeah, amazing.
He don't want me to name drop his name, so I'm not going to, out of respect. But thank you.
Yeah,
because it takes a special person to.
That's extreme generosity right there,
Yeah.
and somebody that knows our love of bourbon.
Absolutely.
And you know how much it's appreciated to be able to have. It helps to have friends in high places in the bourbon world, because I would never be able to come across something like that.
No. Not at all.
Not at all. And he understands our appreciation. And I'll be honest, this is a little bit of an annual tradition. But usually this would have been polished off over the weekend.
Normally, yeah,
Right. I'm not giving details. We're not going to give details.
right.
But this would have been polished over the weekend.
Right.
But kind sir looked at me and said, why don't you have it on the episode? I said, that would be perfect, because
Yeah.
we're actually filming this coming week a Pappy Van Winkle episode.
exactly.
So it was kind of perfect timing. So
Absolutely.
usually what happens is we polish off that bottle, and me and him alternate years on getting to take the empty bottle home.
Right.
He'll get to take it home this year. I got mine last year, and he got the year before. But that's okay. Kevin's in the mix now, so I think next year.
I don't know if I need extra bottles later.
I-
But we'll talk about it next year.
But that's Van Winkle.
That's
you can
true.
never.
That's
so,
Yeah.
y'all ready?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Absolutely.
Van Winkle. That pop was pretty solid for almost an empty bottle.
Yeah.
I got to play it out here. There's not much juice left. Again, we would have usually polished this off. And I'm going to go around, and we're going to tell me
Hey, buddy.
a little bit more.
Don't be shorting me on the old lot 12 there.
I think who's got the least amount? Kevin?
That's about even.
Yeah. All right, there we go.
Yeah.
Van Winkle Special Reserve 12 year Lot B.
Lot B.
Here we go.
There is a noticeable difference
Right up front.
Yeah,
right
you
off
can
the
tell.
bat in the nose.
It even smells smoother.
Yeah.
If that makes
Yeah,
sense.
it does. And you know, obviously the 12's going to be a little smoother than the 10 I said over the weekend.
Yeah.
This, by the way,
Absolutely.
this is
I mean, it's a little lower proof, a little higher age. So,
Right.
Yeah.
this is our very first time having Pappy 12 year. We've never had the 12. We've had the old Rip 10 year every year. So
Yeah. This was the first year we've had this, and you know, it was asked to me, you know, beforehand, you know, which should we have? We got this and this, and I was like, well, we've had the 10 a couple
Yeah.
times. I've never had the 12. This person said I've never had the 12 either. The 10's probably my favorite that I've had.
I sent
and-
this person a message
and
too
I was
saying,
like, I was like, well, let's do the 12. And secretly, I was very excited, you know, because it's hard enough,
Yeah.
like we said anyway. But the 10, then you've got the 12, and not even mention the 15, 20,
I
and
agree.
23. I mean, those are just
way out
crazy
there.
up there.
I believe eventually we're going to, and we will have it here on the Bourbon Husband podcast. And when that day comes, I'll be honest, I don't think I would fresh pop one on camera
Why not?
before having it with you two.
Well, yeah. I mean,
I'd have to. I don't know. Maybe I would. You don't know.
maybe it would film the reaction.
Yeah,
for-
yeah, that's
for
true.
the viewers,
So
who knows?
maybe next we need to go to the 15 or the 13 year rye. Maybe we need to do that next. Find a way to get our hands on it. No fake stuff. It's out there all over the place. Again, special thanks to this individual. That was very kind and generous, and
Absolutely.
Extremely.
he shares with us every year. But to at the end of it, to hold back and say, let's not finish this tonight. Let's y'all filmed this, and I couldn't be more grateful. Again, special thanks to our dear friend Tony Colombo. I will name drop him. He's waiting to watch the episode. Tony, sorry it took so long to get your book back. It's funny, you were talking about giving it back. I walked by his desk and I seen the book. I said, hey, I need that book one more time because I need to film an episode on it. Kevin had already given it back to him.
It was funny. I took it up there and I let him know that I'd put it in his drawer. And 5 minutes later, you messaged me and said, hey, do you still have the book? And I was like, you're going to have to talk to Tony, but I'm sure he'll let you have it back.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
Well, I knew we were going to film the episode on it, so I had to, I already had in my mind, and I didn't tell these gentlemen until, 4 or 5 days ago that we were going to be filming it, but I already knew my next episode was going to be with these two talking about this book and drinking this bourbon. Wasn't expecting to have this on the show again. Special thanks to our dear friend. So
played in perfect again.
Man, that is smooth. It's opening up.
Little
noticeable difference.
Yep.
Same similar proof again, just different age, and what Julian thinks tastes better for what he wanted his name on.
What are you getting out of that, Daniel?
There's a lot of sweetness on the nose.
I'm getting a little caramel.
Vanilla.
More caramel, little brown sugar.
I get a little of that classic citrus.
Citrus, yeah. A little bit of floral, too, on there. So it's...
Honey.
Yeah.
For sure, honey.
Mm-hmm.
And if y'all hear some back noise again, apologize. We're here at the club room in Princeton. They're having a good time. They actually hosted a local company's Christmas party tonight, so it tied in, and it was winding down. He was still trying to get the people out of here. I said, no, don't do that. We'll go into the back room. I'm sure it'll be fine. So let everybody enjoy their time. It's Christmas, and so...
You ready to cheers this?
Yeah, let's go. Merry Christmas, fellas.
Merry Christmas.
It feels good. Very first time having Pappy Van Winkle on the show.
What a difference.
That's a huge difference.
It takes it. I mean,
this is good. Don't get me wrong. This is great.
Yeah.
This is just in a world all its own.
To me,
comparatively,
right? It is. To me, when Julian's talking about Weller, I'm sure he's having special reserve. It's got to be something different. It's got to be one of the other bottles.
It's probably one of the other ones.
I think 12 year is the most comparable. That's why everybody compares.
Either that or the 107.
Something antique 107.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, this is one of the better bourbons to keep on your shelf.
Yeah, that's attainable.
Look, if you can go and afford this and keep it on your shelf, salute to you.
Kudos
to you.
Kudos to you. You've gotten a couple tastes, and that's,
We actually had a good amount of this, I gotta say. And typically we get 1 or 2 pours out of it. I'll be honest, we probably equaled out 3 or 4 pours on this go around. So we're blessed.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, man, that is so smooth.
It is extremely smooth.
Call me crazy. I'm getting a little bit of like a Biscoff cookie on the finish here. It's
yeah, I can see that.
It is.
There's some sort of like a pastry note on the back end.
It is. Yeah, I agree. And I'll tell you, this is
light.
You still got a little bit of heat, a little bit of oak in there, but this isn't really bringing a whole lot of heat. I believe the 10-year brings more heat.
Oh, for sure.
The old Rip brings more heat than this one does.
For sure.
That's what I was getting ready to say. It doesn't hit you real hot,
right?
But it's there, but it's not as hot as this is.
It's elevated to a whole new level.
Yeah.
That is good stuff.
Yes.
I mean, it's Van Winkle, man. It's Pappy.
It's got a nice mouthfeel. It's got like a nice elegance.
Right.
A softness, maybe is how I want to describe it. Not like anything like Daniel was saying, super hot, or like you don't get a lot of real deep, dark, rich, complex notes. It's just very soft and smooth and just so balanced.
I would agree.
It's almost something you can just turn up and not even, it doesn't even bother you, because it's just so smooth.
It's just that. Yeah. It's extremely approachable.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I'll tell you that's. It's Van Winkle. It's Pappy.
Oh yeah.
It's 12-year family reserve. So, again, I truly, let me take a moment. It's Christmas. It's the holiday season. I want to thank you all for tuning in and supporting the show. And I'm not going to name drop this individual, but I want to give also a special thanks. Of course, y'all know all three of us are in the automotive industry, and something really, really cool happened to me the other day. We had a customer in the dealership, and I went in, greeted them, and something I tried to do, and I think I do a good job of doing this. I keep the show and the Bourbon Husband separate of Daniel Bradley at Cole Subaru as the Subaru sales manager.
Sure.
I tried to keep them separate because they need to be separate.
Yeah.
They both deserve that kind of respect. I'm the same person, but I keep the brands different, and that's the way it needs to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went in, was speaking to this individual. We obviously thank you for coming to the dealership, but in my wildest dreams, and it's kind of surreal that this is the episode we're doing this on. I go out and I greet this individual, and they look at me and they're like, "I know you. You're the Bourbon Husband. I've seen your podcast."
Yeah.
And it may seem a little corny or something, but
you didn't know this person.
I didn't know this person, and they introduced. When I introduced myself to them, they said, "I know you. You're the Bourbon Husband. I've seen your podcast." That meant a lot, so thank you. You know who you are. You're going to be watching this show. And in fact, I went back. I've actually, at one point, this individual messaged me on the Bourbon Husband and commented on there a few times. So, but cool. I didn't even know that at the time. It was really, really cool that it happened, and it hit home. Again, I keep them both separate, but when that happened, I was like, this is working, and we got to get it to the next level. So I want to thank all my supporters, followers, subscribers. I want to thank these two, my beautiful wife. She's the backbone of the show, boys. I mean, she's on there all the time, making sure, this reel's going here, and she understands the marketing and data more than what I do.
Right.
I'll drink the bourbon and film. That's about it. I'll sit here and have the drinks, and she does an exceptional job at pushing the brand.
Right.
So if it wasn't for her, that doesn't happen. But also thank you to you two. You know what I mean? You've been a big part of this show, and for the rest of the show, you both are going to be. You're on the show. You're a part of the show. You're on the team. You're not just guests.
Yeah. Sure.
You are the Bourbon Husband. We're all Bourbon Husbands.
Right.
No matter how you look at it.
Right.
So,
yes.
But it was really cool. So the meaning behind what I was saying, Merry Christmas to all my subscribers, all my followers. This year it should be a time of special memories and everything, but I'm also not naive. I understand that it can be a dark time for some people, and Chris and I have particularly said this on an episode before. We don't condone sitting down and drinking for no reason or nothing like that. But if you're sober, don't do this. But grab you a drink, have you a little pour, but don't rush it. Sit down and take in the memories, and sip on it, enjoy it, and enjoy your family, enjoy your friends, enjoy the memories, enjoy your colleagues. Life's too fragile, life's too short, and we should all be making nothing but memories and special moments. So thank you. Merry Christmas to all my subscribers and followers out there. And I gotta say, there's nothing better than family and fine bourbon.
Oh, yeah.
You boys agree?
I agree.
Absolutely.
All right.
Cheers.
So,
Cheers.
Cheers and
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you to one more person. two people, Julian Van Winkle and Mr. Wright Thompson, for giving us an inside scoop and just a glimpse of the history, the memories, the moments, the meanings that goes behind this. What's his name, Freddie at the Buffalo Trace Distillery, say? We're the fragile piece that holds all of this.
Yeah.
We all are. So, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.